Ladies and gentlemen, it is Steven here, and in today's video, we are going to be breaking down the must-start kickers for your fantasy football teams going into week number 5. And in week number 4, we saw some tremendous kicking from the big guys at the kicker position, and we hope to see some great stuff happen in week 5 as well, ladies and gentlemen. And if you are not already a part of the Catch fam, we hope you go down there, hit the subscribe button, join the best community in all of fantasy football. And it is always appreciated if you do like this video that you hit that like button as well. But most importantly, make sure you get in those comments below. Let me know what's going on your rosters. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense, or kicker. So we can help your team get to the best it needs to be before Sunday. All right, and with that all said, let's get into it. Let's get into the must-start kickers because I got my coffee and I am ready to roll. Number 1, we're talking about a guy that I don't mention a whole lot when these streaming videos get dropped, but I get a bunch of comments about this man, and he had an interesting performance because of a weird coaching decision. So I just feel I need to mention his name right now, and that is Mr. Justin Tucker for the Baltimore Ravens. Wow. Harbaugh lost the game by not putting the faith in Mr. Justin Tucker at the end of that one when the Bills came down and won it. But Justin Tucker still finished with 11 fantasy points, 2 attempts, 2 field goals made, no questions asked there, and one was from the 40 to 49 and one was from the 50 plus. He has a beautiful matchup here on the docket going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. I can't wait till Evan McPherson, the young stud, versus Justin Tucker, the old grizzly man, go off against each other because I think this is going to be a kicker battle for the ages right here, guys. But let me just say this right now. If you got Justin Tucker, you need to play him. If you have a chance to get Justin Tucker, then you need to start him too that way as well. Let's put him in your lineups, guys. He is my must-start kicker of the week. Number 2, we're talking about a struggling offense's kicker. That is a kicker of my passion. We're talking about Matt Gay, ladies and gentlemen. In my own personal league, I traded Juju Smith-Schuster for him. That's how much I love this guy. He is a stud. Well, he had 3 field goals last night. The San Francisco 49ers put a beating on the Rams this week, but I tell you this right now, Matt Gay was the heartbeat of that offense, which is pretty sad. And now they go up against the Dallas Cowboys, right? And while the Cowboys have been humming, I don't think they are as good as a holistic unit as the 49ers are, and I think this Rams team is probably going to win that game. They're going to bounce back in that game, and I think Matt Gay is going to be very much relied on in that game. He's going to have a dome performance there in SoFi. I think it's going to be a fun matchup for sure between Mr. Cooper Rush and Matt Stafford. We'll see who the best quarterback is. And then we also got another heavyweight contest between Brett Maher and Mr. Matt Gay himself. I think both kickers are fantastic plays here. And one thing about Matt Gay that we can rely on is it's going to be consistent, man. 3 attempts, 3 field goals made. Unfortunately, they were all in the 30 to 39 range last week. Let's get some more deep bangers from him because we know we can do it. Week 1, he had a 50-plus against Buffalo. Matt Gay, put him in your lineups, guys. He is Mr. Consistent. He is a piece of bread with butter and cheese on it. Let's get it done, Mr. Matt Gay. Up next, we're talking about another man that gives me dreams of passion. That is YOUNGHOE Koo, the man who used to play for the Alliance of American Football. He played for the Atlanta Legends. This guy has been a beast ever since entering the league. I love YOUNGHOE Koo, and he's on an absolute tear this year. Maybe, in my opinion, the best kicker in the league this year, which is awesome to see from this man. It's awesome to see that the Atlanta Falcons have been playing a little bit better than we expected as well. But look at this stat line here. 12 points over the past 2 weeks. He had a little bit of a dud in week 2 against the Los Angeles Rams. But then he had 18 points in week 1 against New Orleans, right? So I'm going to tell you this right now. Your biggest concern here in this game is that if Tampa Bay just absolutely boat races them, and they don't have any field goal attempts here. I still think that he's going to be used quite a bit. We've seen him have success against the Tom Brady-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the past as well. This is in Tampa Bay, so if the weather's good, I think he's going to be relied on here. The Falcons' offense has been sneaky good. I mean, even in that week 2 loss to the Rams, they were in that game. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense isn't as great as we thought it was going to be. They obviously just got totally wiped out by the Kansas City Chiefs. I think this division heavyweight battle is not between Marcus Mariota and Tom Brady, but it's really between Ryan Succop and YOUNGHOE Koo. And one thing I love to see about this YOUNGHOE Koo performances is that he's gotten a lot of attempts and he has made it from the deep ranges as well. I really love to see this, guys. He has had multiple weeks with the 40 to 50 plus range field goal attempts, which means that they not only believe in this guy, but they will rely on this guy to get points on any single drive. Let's put him in your lineups, guys. He's been a stud. Keep the fire and burn. Up next, we're talking about a guy that was in my video last week, and he absolutely dominated, and I just have to say, Florida Atlantic, you are the best college for producing this man. 28 years old, 6 feet tall, Greg Joseph. We need to put him back in our lineups again, going up against the Chicago Bears. Again, right from the top, I'm going to tell you the concerns is if they destroy the Chicago Bears team, then maybe they don't need him as much, and maybe it's just a bunch of extra point attempts. But let me tell you this right now. That Vikings team does not look as electric as it did week 1. They barely got the win against the New Orleans Saints, and they relied on Mr. Joseph heavily. And so I think the Chicago Bears defense is pretty good too. They can get the job done on occasions as well, and I think they might muck it up a little bit for this Vikings offense. I think they rely on Greg Joseph, and let me tell you this right now. I think he is going to be in for a good game here again. He's been a little bit inconsistent. Week 1, he had 13. Week 4, he had 17. But in between those weeks, he had a 1 and a 2-point performance, right? So let's stay away from those games. But I think you got to stay in the fire here because they win a London Classic with Mr. Greg Joseph bringing them the victory. I think they rely on their man again. Look at the numbers here. He had 5 attempts for 5 made field goals. They said, our entire offense relies on you, Greg. Get it done. And he had 2 from the 40 to 49 range. This is beautiful stuff, guys. Put him in your lineups, guys. He's like a plate of spaghetti with extra meatballs. Up next, we're talking about an old Arizona hotshot who grew up in Sherman Oaks, California. We're talking about Mr. Nick Folk, who was on my must-stream videos all last year. I mean, this guy was basically a skill position player. He was like another receiver in your flex spot. He was so consistent and so good. What happened to you, Nick Folk? What happened to you? This year was a little weird. It started off a little bit of a disappointment. 1 point and followed it up by a 4-point performance over the first 2 weeks. I was like, what are you doing, Nick? You're making me sad. But he had a little bit of a shine in week 3 with 10 points, and he had a 6-point performance last week against Green Bay. Going up against Detroit, one thing I know about Detroit is they're going to give up points all over the place, right? And I also think that the New England Patriots are an offense that's not going to go for it like crazy on 4th down. What they're going to do is they're going to try to get points at every single drive, which is why I always like to attack the kicker position with the Patriots historically over the past couple of years. But also on top of that too, they don't have Mac Jones, right? Their offense is going to be a step back. They're going to have Mr. Zappi more than likely under center. So this offense is not going to be able to hum up and down the field against this bad Lions defense. They're going to have to settle for field goals. They're going to have to rely on the ground game too. I think Nick Folk is going to be in for a double-digit performance against the Detroit Lions. I think he is an absolute play here. It's at home. It is in New England. I think Mr. Nick Folk says, all right, Patriot Nation, let's get it done right here behind my leg and let's rock and roll, ladies and gentlemen. Because another thing about Nick Folk is he can get it done from the deep. We've seen that this year already. One thing about Nick Folk that I love is that when he gets on a heater, when he starts getting his consistency up, this guy gets in the flames real quick. And it's hard to stop him. That's what happened last year. And I think it could happen this year too. I talked about this Patriots defense in video this week and how they have a very favorable schedule coming up. Well, guess what? The same applies for the kicker spot. I think if he can take down Detroit, and he's got Cleveland, Chicago, the Jets, and Indy up next, this could be the opportunity to jump behind a kicker that was literally at the top of the charts last season. You can buy him on the low. Let's get it done, Mr. Nick Folk. Up next, we're talking about the Miami Dolphins kicker Jason Sanders against the New York Jets. I think this is going to be a game where he sees a lot of usage with Tua officially being ruled out. I think he had a couple step backs in week 4, but still finished with 8 fantasy points. He missed a field goal, but he did get 4 attempts last week with Teddy Bridgewater mostly being the quarterback in that game. And if you look at this Jets team, right, what did they do last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers? Well, Chris Boswell, who I love a ton, he had 12 fantasy points, so there's a little bit of a precedent for this defense being a good defense to go against in terms of the kicker position. So I want to stream Jason Sanders here against them. He is the man from New Mexico College, and guess what, guys? He had made 111 out of 112 extra point attempts in college. I mean, that is no small feat. So we know the consistency is going to be there in terms of extra points. So let's let him get his field goal attempts, which I think is going to come in plenty because this Dolphins offense obviously has tons of weapons all over the place. But with Tua being out, I think they do take a little bit of a more conservative approach of how they play their offensive game. And I think they rely on Jason Sanders here. I think they rely on that defense here. And I think Jason Sanders is going to bring you to a victory. Jason Sanders, the new Barry Sanders. Up next, we're talking about a man that has never made my videos before. We're talking about Riley Patterson for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have had his name in the comments so far this season, so I know there's some attention on this man because he's a part of this angry, growling Jaguars team that's making a lot of noise this season, right? But Riley Patterson, he is better than everybody on this team. He's better than Trevor Lawrence. He's better than Josh Allen. He is the best Jaguar there is. This man went to Edwardsville High School, and I guarantee you he was the most popular kid in school because he is just so good at football. He has been relied on every single week this season except for last week. So I think a lot of people are going to be scared off by that week 4 performance. They're going to say, only 3 fantasy points, Steven. Why is he in your video? Well, let's look at the facts, guys. He played the Philadelphia Eagles, who were really strong at that defense side. They were behind in most of that game, which made that offense kind of go for it on fourth. They didn't really want that kicker out there because they needed to score touchdowns. If you look at the first 3 weeks, which I think is going to be a more similar game script to this week 5 game against Houston, you've got 11 in week 1, 8 in week 2, and 12 in week 3, and where that offense was really clicking and Riley Patterson was cleaning it up with either field goals or extra points, man. I think this is a great opportunity going up against the Houston Texans. I think the Jaguars are going to win this game. It is at home. I think they're going to have Jaguar Nation behind his back. And guys, even the Chargers kicker, right, Dustin Hopkins, you know the Chargers don't like kicking field goals. They want to go for it on fourth every single time. He still had double digits. We got to give Riley Patterson a shot here to prove us right. Put him in your lineups, guys, against the Houston Texans. I think he's going to make you a very happy fantasy owner. Riley Patterson, welcome to the Catch Must Start Kicker videos, baby. I hope you make it here again. You got the Indianapolis Colts up next, so maybe there's another performance coming out of you too. Put Riley Patterson in your lineups, guys. He is like a box of chocolates on Valentine's Day that you eat alone because you got nobody to celebrate with, but the chocolates taste so good. And with that said, guys, that has been the must-start kickers for your fantasy football teams going into week 5, ladies and gentlemen. We had a great performances in week 4. Again, we hope it carries forward into week 5. We have got to attack this kicker position. I'm trying to shout out some names that might not be guys that are already rostered on different teams in your fantasy football league. So these guys, they might be more available. So go after them, target them, take advantage of them, put them on your rosters, let them blow up that kicker spot for you, guys. And if you are not already a part of the Catch fam, come on and join the journey, right? Join the best community in all of fantasy football. Hit the subscribe button. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. And if you did like this video or you like any of our videos, we always appreciate if you hit that like button. Truly means a lot to the channel. But most importantly, we want to get to know you. We want to get to know your respective fantasy rosters. So get down there in the comments. Let us know what is going on, who's on your waivers, who's on your teams, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, any position. We will give you some advice, guys. And with that said, this has been the must-start kickers for your fantasy football teams. You saw it here first at the Catch.